today on Trade Secrets, my podcast, I'm Candace, you're your hostess, or just host, I guess. It's a unisexual term. I have with me the lovely Ashley Arrison. Now, Ashley worked with me. We're sitting at East West Studios right now, and Ashley worked with me a while ago. We won't talk about the years because she's only 12.
We can say it.
At Cello Studios, and Ashley was my assistant. And actually, where we're sitting right now is approximately where my office was, or where the horse is. If you can see the horse in this photo, there's a life-size horse, by the way, if you can't see it on the screen. And my office was here, and it's very different now. Doug Rogers, the current owner, God bless him. He had Philip Stark come in and do all this beautiful redesign, which is amazing. But we're basically sitting almost where Ashley used to sit
It's
at
so
her
wild,
desk.
isn't it?
Yeah, normally we do this in a studio. All the studios are booked today. So actually, it's pretty unscripted.
Okay.
I asked one question, and that was, where were you born?
Okay, I got it. First, very honored to be here.
Oh,
You are main character energy in my life.
Aw.
So it's definitely an honor, and just to be back here and to even have something that you think I might have something to say is wild. So anyway.
oh, trust me, I'm sure.
But okay, we're starting with where I was born.
Yes.
I was born in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, right.
I was not. Some of my earliest memories are of feeling like, wait, I'm not supposed to be from Memphis. Like I'm supposed to be from, like, I wasn't supposed to be born here. Like I'm sure of it. But what's cool is, when I moved away from Memphis, I became so proud of it.
Yeah,
And
I can relate to that totally because, well, I was born in Fontana, and people that are from Fontana, I'm sure you're proud of Fontana, but I was going to say that I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina since I was like 2, and I'm incredibly proud of Charleston in hindsight. And
Yes.
can't wait to go back there, actually.
Yes.
Probably going to retire there.
yes. So yes, was basically what not.
You feel like you're too big for the town when you're young.
It's weird. And it
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if it makes me an asshole, but like as
No.
early as like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7. I was
I think it's
like,
called
wow.
ambition.
I guess so. I was reading like a Teen Beat magazine
Nice.
sometime, when I was like 10, and I saw that Shannon Doherty was born in Memphis, and I was like, thank God.
Somebody
Like,
else.
Somebody else
famous.
was born in Memphis. I know, it's so funny. But that leads me to, I didn't come from a musical family, but I just always loved to sing. And so when I was 9, the professional company of Annie was coming to town.
How fun.
And so, yeah, it's an entry point for so many little girls. And, but they were holding auditions for orphans. So my mom said, would you want to do this? She saw it in the paper. I was like, well, hell yeah.
Nice.
So she took me to a voice coach.
Because we weren't precocious as children or anything
I'm
like that.
I'm ready. Put me in, coach. But yeah, so she took me to a voice coach and just said to the guy, she was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to prepare her for this.
How old are
Can
you, like
she even
9,
do it?
7?
9.
9.
And so she said, will you just spend an hour with her and just tell me, if she could maybe have any chance at this. So, at the end of the hour, as my mother tells it, he was like, she can go as far as she wants to and blah, blah, blah.
She's amazing. Oh my God.
She's incredible. She's the best I've ever had. No. But the reason I say that is because the first thing he said was, I want to connect her immediately with this other student of mine, Justin Timberlake. He said, because they are just so similar in what they want to do and their seriousness about it.
Aw, and Tennessee boy as well.
Yep, Memphis boy. So yeah, I didn't know till a lot
Someone
later
else
that
born in
someone
Memphis.
else would come from Memphis.
Yeah.
And so we were a little. I was an orphan and Annie, and Justin and I were performing in every.
Was Justin and Annie also?
He wasn't. We just had our own little duo, and we would perform at every mall and hospital and hotel ballroom.
That is so incredible. I mean, I know you're an incredible singer. I've heard you sing before, and I think it's, we're going to talk today about the journey and how you end up where you are. But I mean, it's not too late, Ash.
Oh, well, I like to keep a toe in it, but that's about, I don't know if I was built for it, but we'll get to that. Well, actually, that kind of leads to one of kind of the first kind of most influential moment in my life. And it was interesting that something like this would affect my journey and career, something at 12. But Justin and we wanted to be Mouseketeers so badly on the new Mickey Mouse Club. That was our goal.
Like, how does that Do they come to your every town or
Well,
looking
so
for little mouses?
Yeah, we figured it out. So basically, I would tape on a VHS, the Mickey Mouse Club, and then I would on the weekends go to Justin's house. He lived outside of the city, didn't get Disney Channel. So we would watch it and we would mimic it and such. And this started when we were 9. So we found out that we couldn't audition until we were 12. So we basically practiced
for 3 years. Oh my God.
Just for this audition. So they came through Nashville. So somehow he got to Nashville. I remember we stayed with my aunt who lives there. We auditioned and we were the only 2 who came from, they did a nationwide call.
Right.
So we were the only 2 who got asked to go to the casting camp in Orlando from Nashville.
Is it because, wait, I missed a step. Did you send in a clip or something?
It was an open call at a convention center in Nashville.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we go to this casting camp. It's a 2-week. You're acting, you're singing, you're dancing all day. And when I land,
theater.
Yeah, it was like, they're putting us all with different people. So it was me, Justin, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears.
Oh my God,
Jessica
dude.
Simpson. It was just a handful.
Just a couple people.
Just a couple people. Yeah,
and Ashley.
Who were all more successful than me now. But anyway, we. So it was just, and we, tight. We were so bonded because you spend all this time and you're all into the exact same things. And so
it's like pageant bonding.
Yeah, it's pageant and like trauma bonding maybe at the same time. But yeah, we had our big, our big screen test was on the Star Search stage, which was
how fun.
So in the end, long story short, they picked 3 boys, they picked 3 girls, and I was not one of the girls.
Wow. And do you get to be an understudy?
No, you don't.
Wieners?
You're out. You get a letter that's like, thanks so much. Like, you were great.
That's outrageous.
It is outrageous only for...
Well, you're beautiful and you're talented and you're smart and you're tall. And I know you were...
it's like we live in LA. Like sometimes it's, it's not personal. As the story goes, Justin's mom says that the casting people told her that it was just I was too much taller than Britney and Christina, and they knew that they wanted her, and that I looked weird beside them because I'm very tall. Who knows? Maybe I just wasn't
prejudice against tall girls. I've lived it my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. This is bullshit. But what's interesting, the reason I tell the story is really though because it really rocked me. And it sounds kind of silly, but it's like I had. As a kid, it's like my only goal was to try to be on this TV show.
Like, what do you do now?
Yes, at 12.
Right.
And to feel that at 12, like, well, who am I now? Like, what do I do now? And it was, I had always, your parents always say, you can do whatever you want. And if you try hard enough.
My parents were awesome that way, yeah.
Yeah, and if you work hard enough and if you want it bad enough. And I think it rocked me so hard because I was like, I wanted that more than anyone. And I didn't get it. And I worked as hard as anyone. Like, I remember going up to Britney Spears the first day I met her. And I was like, so who's your favorite on the show? And she was like, oh, I don't know. My agent just sent me, And I was like, what? Because I just wanted to bond, over the show.
How was Christina?
Very quiet. Very, I remember the show got her, she had very thick glasses. I remember them getting her contacts.
Aww.
And just kind of,
Did anyone have braces yet or anything like that?
I don't remember any of us having, if we did, we probably got them taken off, for the occasion, like stage mom central. But yeah, so and I was so devastated, but I still was so in love with the show. And Justin was such a good friend of mine. So the next summer when they were filming, I still went down there and I watched them film like the roll call where they're like, Justin, Brittany. And I'm just like sitting there by myself and like, this little, but I wanted to see, but it was so sad. It was so heartbreaking.
Oh, wow.
And I swear, I feel like it's like people like Jessica Simpson. She didn't get it either. She was like, well, screw this. I'm still awesome. And like, watch, I'm going to like go for it. It like made me retreat. I was like, I don't know. I don't like this feeling. And I don't think I want to.
Failure. Not my favorite feeling.
This is not my jam. And
because I don't fail. Yeah. I don't do failure.
Yeah. I was like, so from then on, I wouldn't compete in anything. I wouldn't compete in the school talent show.
I could totally see that. I have a similar, I don't have a similar story, but I have a similar nature in that, like, if I try it, it doesn't work. Well, that's just it. I'm just,
we're good.
Forgive
we're
me.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't do
I'm
second
not-
time.
Yeah, no. And I'm not proud of this. And and it's not going to
I
inspire
can't believe
anybody.
I got married a second time.
Oh, that's a whole nother Oprah. But I feel like I've backed into so many things because I've been very scared to
Yeah.
to
Put
just
yourself
go
out
for
there.
it. Yeah, because I think it happened at such a just such an important age.
So after this happens, and you're probably in about 5th or 6th grade by this time, did you, you're talking about like kind of losing faith or whatever, as it were, confidence, whatever you want to call it. Did you sing in chorus in school?
Yeah, so I would sing in the show choirs,
Got it.
things like that. Loved it.
Probably got picked for the lead in a couple productions.
Yeah, and everybody, all the girls, hated me because
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
the singer girl.
Yeah.
Um,
Pretty singer girl.
No, that's kind. But I didn't care because I loved singing so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I really
Yeah.
did. And so I wasn't willing to give it up. But I would, I ended up graduating from high school when I was 16. Because
I
was
did
like,
too.
That's right.
We never talked about
I
that.
don't know. I think it was a long time ago. We talked about it. But yeah, so I just wanted to get out of there
Yeah.
and I wanted to grow up. And I think after 12, I got really into singer-songwriters. Like, I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this singing and dancing thing.
I'm going to be Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be Tori Amos.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
Yeah, Alanis was definitely a big one too. But so I got really into Amy Mann.
Oh, cool.
Like all that kind of stuff too.
Nice.
And so that kind of took me did a lot of cool stuff. Was in a lot of performing groups and stuff like that. But was not, I was like, I'm not doing anything professional.
Did you do it? Well, I was going to say, did you gig in town in high school? Like, did you ever play like a coffee shop or anything?
I would play, like, I got really into country music because of the songwriting. I loved
Right.
the songwriting so
Yeah.
much, and 90s country was like the best era of country. I mean, besides the classic.
Yeah.
And so I would sing at like little country bars with peanuts on the floor and,
Aw.
sit in with bands and stuff like
Nice.
that. But I wouldn't audition for anything.
Did you now you get out of high school that early, and I know it was pivotal for me. Did you go to college right away?
So this was super pivotal. So I was already young for my grade. I'm a summer baby, and then I graduate when I'm 16, and I moved to Nashville for my senior year of high school because I just wanted to start meeting songwriters and
Were your parents,
And-
where were they?
well, they came. They were super supportive. We had lived when we left Memphis when I was 12 and moved to Denver for a couple years.
Okay.
And then we came back my senior year
Got
to
it.
Nashville.
Got it.
So I was
What
so
part of Nashville did you live in?
Hendersonville,
Oh,
the
I know.
home of Taylor Swift.
I know where that is.
Yeah, north of the city. Well, she's technically from Pennsylvania, Swifties, but she did go to high school in Hendersonville when she moved to Nashville. But yeah, so I was so tired of being the youngest because I graduated with all kind of 18-year-olds.
Me too.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is hard. Like it was part of my identity always being the youngest, but I thought I want to wait a second to go into college.
And getting out of high school and still being a virgin was tough. We'll talk about me later, but yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So I went to, I got a job at the mall and I started taking classes at the community
Were you
college.
discovered at the mall?
I wasn't, but I had great style from the Limited.
Remember the limit.
I was like owning that plaid
I love that
skirt
shit, dude.
vest era, but
Nice.
yeah, so I was going to this community college, just taking some classes because I was like, I'm going to do that for a year and then I'll go to Belmont. So I'm taking this music business class, and our class assignment for the semester was we had to make an album, and so we had to have
Nothing small or
Yeah,
anything.
it's fine. Yeah, minor, but so we had to, or maybe an EP technically. But the point is, some people in the class, had to be the band, and you had to have a singer, and you had to have songs, and then you had people who would promote it and market it, just so everybody, whatever they were interested in.
Right. Had a place.
Right. So somebody says, oh, okay, Ashley, will you, sing the song? Yeah, sure, whatever. It's 3 songs. Will you sing one of them? Sure. So the day comes when we're supposed to go into the studio. Somebody in the class's mom had dated the owner of Woodland Studios, a
nice.
studio in Nashville. Didn't know anything about it. Had never been in a real studio in my life.
Okay.
So the morning that we're supposed to go to Woodland, we're getting a free deal at the studio. I'm like, this will be stupid. I overslept, and my teacher, the professor, is calling my home phone, pre-cell phones. I'm like, hello. And he's like, it's like, you're up, get down here. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I race over to Woodland, and I walk in, and I am like, holy
nice
shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a pro studio. It's a nice
it's
place.
Like this. It's like, it's the vintage vibe.
Yeah.
It's the, Million Gold Records, and you're seeing Neil Young, and you're seeing, for Indigo Girls, all the stuff I was like into. And, the huge rooms and the old Neve consoles.
Nice.
And I had never seen, I'd never. And I looked haggard because I had just gotten out of bed.
Impossible.
So they're like, actually, we went to the next song. So you have a few minutes. I race back home, I shower really quick, get cute, come right back. Because I'm like, I can't be looking like, a hobo up in here. So have the best day of my existence. And so I go to the owner of the studio. And I was like, hey, do you do internships? Do you an internship? And he's like, no, we have so many assistants. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't want engineers.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want to be an engineer. I was like, I want to learn how to run a studio. Nice. And he was like, no one's ever asked that before. He was like, okay. He's like, well then, yeah, you can start working the front desk. And I was like, great.
Nice.
So I immersed myself. I mean, Woodland became first home. It was Ryan Adams' Heartbreaker was the first record that that was done at when you were there, I started and it was the first time that I got to understand how making records was it was like summer camp. You would be with somebody.
Well, and how it takes a lot of people
and you get so close to them.
Yes.
They're
not your friends though.
I have learned the hard way.
Not that they're not your friends, but
they're not
your friends.
Yeah, but back before everything went digital, it was
people didn't have home studios. It was rare.
No. It was it was 12-hour lockouts.
Yeah.
You had to take up every second of the time.
Yeah.
And it was 3 or 4 months. And
you're living my Groundhog Day. You're describing my Groundhog Day right now.
Yeah. And it's and just the bonding that comes when people make music together.
Yeah. Did you ever get an opportunity? They probably didn't know you were a singer, but did you ever get a chance to do some background vocals?
I did. I had, at that studio, and we'll get to this one, I always did because it was so great as everyone you worked with was always a musician.
Yeah.
And so on the downtime, you would always do stuff for people.
Nice.
But yeah, people would bring me in to do backgrounds and stuff. And it was
what
great.
What are some things that you might have sung on that we would know? Any on that Ryan Adams?
I mean, I've sung on Badly Drawn Boy.
Oh, yeah.
His About a Boy. He did the About a Boy movie soundtrack. I sang on a couple of those. I sang on a Lindsay Lohan song. It was just random.
Where was Lindsay Lohan in this whole thing? Was she not a mousy?
She wasn't. I don't know where she was. I don't know. She was off doing the movies maybe early on. I don't know, but I didn't. Yeah, I never crossed paths with her until later. When she was eating a banana. I'll never forget this. And she said, I eat bananas for their protein. And I was like,
there's no protein in
bananas.
Like,
that's fascinating. Okay. But
maybe somebody should talk about nutrition.
Yeah, but I also wish Lindsay Lohan well. Because
she was beautiful and amazing and getting all her potassium.
Yes, and she was probably having, she's had some hard times in her life. But anyway, so I did end up going to Belmont. And I was still working at Woodland. But after I had my Woodland studio experience, I was like, I couldn't be a normal college student.
Okay, I'm going to give you a great comparison here, and you'll be honored by this. So I saw this movie on Tom Dowd, the famous engineer who worked for Atlantic. And he goes and he works, he goes and he's dealing with Oppenheimer and tests for the bomb. And he'd been studying physics in college. And then he goes back to college, and this is in the 50s. He goes back to college, and he's like, okay, yeah, what they're teaching isn't real, and I know what's real, so I'm going to go back and just become a recorder. I mean, I don't know how it compares, but basically the same thing. You're in the real world.
Yeah.
And then you go to school, and you're like, huh.
Yeah.
I don't
No.
need this.
And
Yeah.
and especially at Belmont, everyone, small liberal arts, very music focused school for anyone who doesn't know in Nashville, everyone there is trying to get into the industry in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so going back and then going, no, I was like, I'm actually already I want to do that. Like I'm not trying to do something else. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So quit Belmont, it took me 18,000 years to pay off the student debt for a year and a half or something, 2 years. So go back and working at Woodland. My brother lived out in LA. He worked for the Simpsons TV show.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was like the post-production coordinator for 11 or 12 years.
Wow.
And so he was out here, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I think it's my time. Like, I want to get into something out there, in
There
Los
you go.
Angeles. And so Nico Bolas, who worked a lot at Woodland,
Yeah.
I went to him and I was like, do you know anybody in Los Angeles? I love working in studios, and is there, do you know anybody I could meet so I could possibly work in a studio there? And he was like, Candace Stewart.
Aw.
And so
I thought it was Gary Meyerberg.
nope, it was you. And so I came out
I
here.
remember our lunch, actually.
Yeah, this was also, let's just be honest, 22 years ago, I think, 23, something like
Yeah.
that. So I just moved out here. I moved into my brother's
Again,
closet.
she was 12.
Yeah, exactly.
She's only 14 now.
Yeah, that's true. And I moved the day before 9/11.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I was Nashville is a small town, and it's a lot smaller. It was a lot smaller then than it even is now.
Yeah.
And I felt
A tough town
every bit of
in
it.
some ways.
True. So the first couple weeks I was here, I would map quest how to get everywhere, and I would do it by not having to take left turns because I was terrified because there aren't turn signals here.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I wasn't, so I was
Well,
terrified.
and being in the middle of the whole being in the middle of the intersection, hoping that you don't get hit as the light goes red so that you can turn.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to let you turn.
Exactly. It's like you just hold your nose and just pray.
That's so true.
Yeah. But anyway, I think even when I came to meet you, so I emailed you, you were like, absolutely, let's go out to lunch. We went, what did it used to be
It was
called? down there?
Pinot.
Pinot.
Yeah.
We went to Pinot, and
I remember that, I don't know at what point in the conversation, but I remember saying where are you from? And you were like, oh, I'm from Nashville, or really from Memphis. I'm like, oh, I'm from South Carolina. And that was it.
it was done. We were, it was
we were bonded.
we're
we
good.
were bonded by getting out of the small southern town and coming to the big city.
Yeah, you were. I think that's probably all we talked about. And then you were like, let me call you in a couple days. And as I recall, I think you let go of whoever was.
Well, I think there were 6 people in the office then. Somebody was like Trina, Colette, Snow. Jen was moving from being an assistant, and then we ended up with Dream Team, which was you and Jen, and I think Trina and Snow did nights. Colette was around as well.
Yeah, I loved Colette.
But yeah, I still talk to pretty much everyone. I haven't talked to Jen in a while. Jen, if you ever hear this show, I wish you nothing but the best. But I haven't talked to
me
Jen in a
too.
minute. I saw Katie. Katie came in with her family. Katie was an assistant engineer at Shell at the time. Amazing. Because when I took over, when I came to start here, when Cello started, I basically poached people from next door from what was then Ocean Way.
Ocean Way, yeah.
And I stole people. And I recently did this when United closed, where I stole people again.
You got to do it. It's a tough town.
I think one thing that we bonded over early on, though, is that we're both too big for small towns and felt we were destined for quote unquote something greater. But I never really felt like LA was that hard of a town.
At all.
Kind of whatever.
No, this is
I never felt daunted by it.
the energy
Yeah.
there's an electric current.
And pretty welcoming, honestly.
Yeah.
At least for me.
I tell everybody, first of all, when people hate on LA, I'm like, shoot, I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know about
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Because, it's a little harsh, but
Well,
kind
the,
of true.
the
But
state of it today with the homelessness and stuff is a bit depressing for
Yeah.
those of us who've lived here a long time. But the city itself, it's gorgeous. The opportunity is incredible. The
you just
weather's
have everything.
amazing. Oh, yeah.
You have everything. And I think for me, why I connected so much with it is that electric current I'm talking about that just is under the city at all times of everybody's wanting more, and there's so much creation,
Yeah.
and of every kind.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to me. I've tried to leave, and I've tried because I thought, I was kind of had this Southern mindset of you go to LA or New York, and then when you're ready to get married and have a kid, you go home and you buy a house and you don't have IKEA furniture anymore. You collect nice things and your parents take care of your kid on Friday night and you wear like yoga pants. I don't know.
But you go back and I was at Ashley's wedding, one of her first wedding when she got married in Belmead. And I remember trying to explain to the people that were there from LA, I'm like, okay, this is going to be at dusk and the cicadas, crickets, frogs, etc., are going to be so loud. A sound that I love. That symphony that I love. But people were like, "Oh my God, what is that?" It's like ring, ring, ring. Everybody's like, I'm like, and we're used to it because we're Southern. But people were like looking around, and I remember it was right at dusk when you were getting married, and it was loud.
You couldn't like hear us.
Dude, it was awesome.
It was so loud.
It was so awesome.
And it was the hottest wedding also of all time. But
it was hot that day.
It was.
Yeah.
It was in
but
September.
Beautiful. You were a beautiful bride.
Thank you. And now we're divorced and all as well. But another
husband in between.
We're just killing it.
I'm on number 2 and sticking with it. So that's how that goes. But
that's funny.
But
yeah, so
LA.
But the other thing I was going to say about LA is it's just about finding your people.
Your tribe, man. You found your tribe.
That's all it is. Like, and there's so, people when people say, "Oh, LA is just so shallow," and "Oh, it's just so this," I'm like,
true.
Well, and maybe there's some, some tribes and some groups or something, but there's everything.
I know we had a good tribe.
Yeah, we did.
It's still
like,
a good
there's
tribe.
Everything. It's like, all my best friends who I met, probably 25 years ago are all from the South.
Yeah.
They're all Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas, a lot of Texas. But, it's just when people give that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Entree or...
Yeah, when just that generalization.
Okay,
like,
when people stereotype.
Stereotype, thank you.
Yeah.
I was out of coffee this morning.
Sorry. You can have some. We have espresso.
Oh, thank you. I was kind of...
Do you want a latte?
I thought maybe it's like...
Do you want a flat white latte? What would you like? Because I have something to get it for you right now. Jay, Ashley needs a latte with cinnamon sprinkles on top.
That's so
Do you like cinnamon?
I do.
Oh, with cinnamon.
Oh, I miss runners and assistants.
Yeah. Latte with cinnamon. For
That's
the queen.
So nice, thank you. But I thought when I didn't have coffee, I thought, well, maybe this is like Jesus taking the wheel because it'll like make me too.
You're perfect.
Thanks, you're kind. So anyway, I started here, and
dude, we had nothing but fun. Or am I remembering it through rose-colored glasses?
No, it was wild.
Yeah, it was crazy.
My only regret in life is that I didn't keep a journal during that time.
Oh, yeah.
Because the stories and people, my family will
You're
sometimes...
kind of like my journal, actually. You help me remember stuff. But tell me about your family.
Well, they'll say to me, like, we'll be at family dinners, and they'll say, "Oh, tell us the story again about, Tom Petty." And I'm like, what was the story? Like, remind me? Like, I have to ask them to... I'm like, oh, yeah, that story. Like, I've forgotten about that. Like, people that have told the stories remember even more than I do. But my very first day here, I was in a corduroy skirt. Chris Holmes always reminds me of that. And I'd gone to a spree and bought a new outfit for my first day.
Dude, we will talk about Chris Holmes and him almost not getting hired. That's so funny. Go ahead.
Chris Holmes, we still just remember like making eye contact, like, like we're going to be tight.
Kindred spirit.
Yeah. But my first day, you're walking me around and you're like in Studio 2, you're like, "Oh, hi everybody. Like, this is Ashley, the Red Hot Chili Peppers."
Oh yeah.
And Anthony Kiedis immediately starts on he figured out how to use the intercom system.
Yeah. Everybody would have fun with that.
Yeah. So he would get on the intercom system and like keep calling me there, and like, and they just laugh and I was just,
it was a professional environment.
Yeah. Yeah. So in keeping with that, then you take me down to Studio 2 and you're like, "This is Studio 2. And we step in the lounge and Tom Petty's sitting there in a chair and he's like, I don't know if you can hear me.
Relaxed.
He's like this. And you said, "Hey, hey Tom, this is Ashley. She just moved here from Nashville." And he goes, Nashville. That was it. That was it.
Well, you know, and I'll tell a quick story because you would have been here at that time. I think you would have been here. Was Willie Nelson came, and I was so excited about Willie Nelson, and he parked a big truck in front of on Sunset and didn't even like, red zone on the side, but didn't care. It's Willie Nelson, right? And there's weed coming out the windows, and so excited. And within 5 minutes, knows everybody's name. Super nice. And Tom had been here for quite a while. So grateful to Tom and all the work that he did here. I miss him so much. And all the guys in the band, amazing, wonderful people. Jim Scott, everybody, badass.
Yeah.
But I looked up, and we're talking about that intercom thing. I'm like, where is everyone? I can't find everyone. I'm like, no one's in, what's going on? And there was this young man named Randy, and he was like cooking in the parking lot. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I had that PT Cruiser, and I had like a South Carolina flag sticker on my car. And I'm like, everybody get in here. Like I run outside. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Get inside. Answer the phone. What's going on? And I see Tom and Willie like smoking a joint. And I go outside. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, gonna smoke a joint with Willie Nelson and Tom Petty. It was normal Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'm hanging out, standing there, and Willie goes, Tom, Candace is from South Carolina. Oh no, Candace is the boss. He goes, Candace is the boss, and Tom goes, yeah, I know. And he goes, she's from South Carolina, and Tom goes, he goes, I know. I saw the flag, and he goes, I'm from Gainesville, and I go, yeah, I know. And he goes, how did you know? And I'm like,
well,
I know.
Yeah.
You're from Gainesville.
Newsflash. Yeah,
and he
you're
goes,
Tom Petty.
And he goes, oh no. Then he said, where are you from in South Carolina? And I said, Charleston. And he goes, ooh, high tone. And I laughed so hard. I was like, yeah, compared to Gainesville. Yeah.
I mean,
I was laughing. But
one of these is
that
not
was
like
just,
the other.
These are, and to this day, I have the blessing of having incredible clients. And a lot of people, maybe the first time in, they're not famous and you don't know who they are. And then like 2 years later, they're like, the biggest star ever. And you're like, oh, I remember them.
I have the best end cap to your story, which is that I was probably inside while you were smoking a joint.
Yelling at you.
I was probably answering the phones. But what I did get to be in on is all of a sudden they come. I remember Tom's assistant came in. What was his name? He was so nice. I could picture him perfectly. But he came in and he said, you want to come in here? You probably want to see this in Studio One.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I think you went with me. And so we're in the control room of Studio One. They've set up in the live room a huge, a circle of chairs. And it's Willie, Tom, and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Yep.
Singing Goodnight Irene.
Goodnight Irene. I remember that vividly, actually.
And they're just pointing at each other like, you take this verse, you take. I mean, it's just like the real deal.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I'm 21 years old, like.
I was going to ask.
What?
I couldn't remember. I remembered you were really young. I think you were 24 when you left and moved on. But 21, yeah. It was many incredible memories. And one of the things about 6,000 Sunset, because the names have changed to protect the not so innocent, but Ocean, Western Recorders, Ocean Way, Cello, all the things in this building, there was a whole, like, I came here in 98, and you came in like 2001. But from 1960 to 2000, it was like, oh my God. It was like the Mamas and the Papas and the Beach Boys and the, so I mean.
Like what happened pre us?
I know the legacy that happened before us. Yeah. I am always keenly aware of the history of the building, but my goal, and this is important to me, is to keep it relevant and to keep it current and to have new artists and future artists come through here and get the mojo. You know what I mean?
I was so happy to hear, and I don't know how this isn't normally what I would listen to, but somehow I got attached to the Olivia Rodrigo album.
Yeah.
And so, of course, once I fell absolutely madly in love with it, the first thing I do is I look at all the songwriters.
Great team.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, because I mean, she and the producer, right? Most of it, just the two of them. There's not like 10 people on each song. I was like, impressive.
It's like Dan Nigro. Keith is all on that Olivia Rodrigo. Dan Nigro, amazing.
Yeah, co-wrote most of it with her. The first thing I do is that, and then I see where it was recorded. And then I saw it was here. And I think Schiffman mixed it. And I was just like, yes!
Dude, and Schiffman did such an amazing job. I watched the Grammys just a little bit this year, and I don't know if anything that was won that Schiffman would have maybe pre-telecast, because he certainly should have been.
Thank
Aw.
you. I appreciate
Thank you, Sam.
you. No, it was made with love. I can tell.
But yeah, no, we were so blessed,
Mm-hmm.
and you were part of it. I mean, Ash, the years that you were here were, I mean, both fun, and then it
Yeah.
got stressful towards the
Yeah,
end, but
it really
very,
did.
very, very fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was Tom Petty. It was
Mm-hmm.
you know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like you said. It was like Ryan
Mm-hmm.
Adams. It was so, you know, I can't remember who John Bryan was working with.
He did a lot of stuff here.
We had him do the strings for Petty.
He did Magnolia, but that was pre me. Oh yeah, the strings for Petty, because we got to go to
Yeah,
that.
we got to go to the Olympic and see. That was
so
amazing.
cool.
But just so much. If you did a record from 98 to 05, and I'm not listing you, don't be
Oh, there
mad,
was
because there was so much going on. Well, obviously,
Muse, remember?
Muse was amazing. Courtney Love was here. Jerry Finn came in, I think, was AFI.
Blink. Or AFI, that's what it was.
AFI, Mars Volta, System of a Down.
Yeah.
I mean, so many bands. And like you said, like when you're sitting there talking to your family, it's like, I think how I feel, like, you know, 40 years later,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Like have that, like you told me a great story about like Tom getting me a bottle of champagne, which I think was really nice. There was a liquor store across the street that's gone now. It was so convenient. Mr. Lee's.
Mm-hmm.
He was Korean. He'd been everywhere in the world. His wife was a witch, but she was nice to the boys, but mean to us. But yeah, there was just such a community.
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
real, and the closeness that I can't, and maybe you can speak to what it is like now, but I just feel like the closeness of all
The staff.
the staff was
Yeah.
just unmatched. It was
Yeah.
just beautiful.
When there were shenanigans going on, I mean, I laugh about it now. And Dougie Fresh, if you listen to this, you know, it for me, it's literally like same circus, you know, different clowns.
Yeah.
No offense, but
Yeah,
it's like you know, they'll do silly stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, you know. And I never had kids, and I'm like wringing my hands, and I'm
Yeah.
like, how can this be happening again?
See,
You
I
know?
think I was so young. I was just in the
Oh,
the
no,
fray.
you guys
know?
were awesome. Yeah, I was actually a really good crew, and I have a really great crew now. I love my staff; they're freaking amazing. But you know, like people would be selling weed, and I'd be like, you probably
yeah.
shouldn't sell weed with
Yeah,
the name and the address.
Yeah, they would sell other
On
things
the
besides
envelope.
weed.
yeah, on the envelope. I'm like, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I
you know?
remember like we would FedEx weed for people.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like, it was,
You FedExed weed for me.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
like
yeah.
it
I'd
was-
wrap it in aluminum foil.
Yeah, aluminum foil and coffee. We'd FedEx. Funny story, dude. So during that time, there was like a tape op, and it was in New Orleans. And my husband Brian and I, we go to New Orleans, and he worked for Music Connection, and we're waiting for the, you know, sorry. We was illegal then. Please don't judge me. And so we're waiting for this FedEx to arrive. And I go down to the desk, and I'm kind of bitchy, and I'm like, you know, has my package come yet? Whatever. And they go, it was confiscated by the DEA in Memphis. Dude, they took our
Damn.
weed, and then I got so freaked out because we had just bought our house, and Brian had me so freaked out, like, oh my God, we're going to get in trouble. We're going to get arrested. They're going to take our house. I'm like, what? Why are they going to take our house? It's an ounce of weed. You know what I mean?
gonna
He had me
take
so
our
freaked out.
house.
And then he was like, we have to check out of this hotel. And I'm like, what? Why? And he goes, well, your name is on it. Your name
That would scare me
is
too
on
then.
there. I was like, and then nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
The DEA did not come get me.
They took the weed. And
They
had
took
a
the
good
weed.
night.
I didn't get
Yeah.
arrested. Everything was okay.
That's hilarious.
DEA agent, whoever confiscated that ounce of weed back in 2002 or 3, whatever, thank you for not pursuing me across state lines to New Orleans and then to California. Anyway, but yeah, it was, you know,
I have a couple memories are coming to
Different
mind in
time.
this moment. One is that I remember Madonna in the hallway on the phone telling somebody that why she only prefers French nannies.
she was sitting on an amp case. She was sitting on a road case in the hallway.
Yeah. And I was
Pat
like,
Leonard, you know, I still talk to Pat. He just did a solo record. I'll send it to you. It's
"That's
gorgeous.
wild." Actually,
He's
yeah,
so
I actually
talented.
helped
Oh
him
my
for a
God.
minute at Henson on something.
But
That's
yeah,
wild.
we are blessed. We're blessed. You were great. I have no
thanks.
complaints. You were solid as a rock,
Well,
great
I
assistant, you know.
apologize for anything
Well,
that might have happened in my youth.
Well, you were young and,
Yeah.
and going through transitions in your personal life, your first, and then it got very stressful for all of us when it was closing, and I was
Yeah.
trying to save it, you know, and
That was
didn't it all work out? How
it did. I mean,
I have to thank God, you know, Sky Daddy, universe, whatever,
Yeah, Sky Daddy.
because I really thought that was it and that the studio would be gone, and I was so devastated that it would happen on my watch.
Yeah.
And you guys were so helpful. You guys, I mean, all the crazy business plans we did and all the things we were doing.
all
and
the
it,
weekend business meetings.
Oh, my God.
And trying to
Yeah,
yeah.
and
It was a lot towards the end.
and my mom was going into a nursing home
that's
at that
right.
exact same time, which was probably,
That's
I will
right.
say this, dear listeners, the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life was get my mom a nurse. Harder than my father's death, harder than her death later. That pivotal moment, my mother, God rest her soul, was bipolar, and she ended up being fine. She thrived. She was fine. But that
Yeah.
time in my life, I felt completely, you guys were so great, and my support system was so great, because I felt completely like, what else is going to happen? Like, you know, the studio's going to close. My mom is, you know, mentally ill. She's going to a nursing home. You know what I mean? I just bought a house. I'm not going to have a job. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell's going on? But
Yeah, and that's ultimately
give up and, you know, let go and let God, I guess. I don't know. It worked out.
That was so hard because it didn't feel like just
was
your
family.
job. Yeah, it felt like
Yeah.
if this place closes, not only is it the family aspect, but it's just the history
Yeah.
aspect. It felt so important. And that was
I
heavy. and
felt
that's,
that weight heavily on my
Oh,
shoulders.
I know
I
you
did.
I know you did. And that's you know, it ended up being why I left. It was so uncertain for so long.
Oh yeah, we needed jobs. I mean, I was,
and
I
it
was
got
scared.
really traumatic when at one point someone was going to buy it, and then suddenly, and
stomach's
we,
growling.
yeah, and we were like, "This is it." And we were so happy,
And he
then
was so cool and so handsome and so
Yeah.
young and so nice.
yeah. And yeah, I liked him a lot. And then that, you know, that whole thing fell through, and it just.
I'll
so-
never forget. I was sailing to Catalina, and it was a weekend. I would sail with my friend, and I got a call like, "Will you go ahead and you just go to Catalina, and I'll be here trying to save your studio."
Oh,
and
I
at
remember
that-
he said that.
And at
He
that
did.
point, I'd kind of gotten an indication that it probably wasn't going to happen, and I was sort of like. I was also getting to the point where, like, you know, don't emotionally blackmail me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I said, that's okay. You go ahead and go with whatever plan you've got, this individual whose name we're not mentioning. And you know what? It didn't work out. But again, in hindsight,
Yeah.
so,
Oh, in hindsight.
and Doug, the current owner, I bless you every day. You're my friend. You saved this place. I have nothing but respect for you. You saw the potential. You went and you invested your time, your money, and you've, you know, kept us going all this time. I know, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You know? And he's a fan, you know, like a Rick Rubin. One of the things I think you might remember, we did a lot of work with Rick Rubin.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
remember him saying, he didn't say much, but I remember him saying,
When
he
he
was
was
quite
here.
shy.
Yeah.
I do remember him saying that ultimately that he was a fan and that was what got him into music. And I think we all kind of felt like we were part of something bigger.
Yeah,
You know?
deeply. And I felt that strongly because because I left. I remember Christine, who used to manage Sunset Sound, called me one day and said, you know, they need a manager at NRG. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'd never been to NRG. I knew nothing, but I just knew that I wanted to have a job.
I was
and,
both devastated and happy for you, just so
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
I never want to
thank
hold
you.
anybody back. But,
yeah. Well, and it was, you know, there had just been so much
Yeah.
traumatic stuff there towards the end. And so the ups and downs of the sale and stuff. But so I go over there to manage NRG, and it was like the house that New Metal built, you know?
Right.
And
With Lincoln Park. And
yeah, it was all that, you
Yeah.
know,
And
Evanescence
Jay,
and all that
still
good stuff.
doing great.
Yeah, and God bless him. I just mean it was a very, very different feel than one of
different genre. Like, even though we've always done every kind of genre here at this studio, that's one of the things, we're very diverse. But during that time, it was high-end rock
yeah.
for cello.
Yeah, for sure. So it was just,
Rock
it
pop.
was, yeah, it was a very, very, very different scene over there. And it made me appreciate what we had here so
Oh, really?
much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to be a part of a building like this and a history like this, it's,
NRG's a fine studio, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you did a really, really good
Thank
job.
you.
I'm always been so proud of you.
Oh,
I just
thank
want to
you.
say that.
Well, it wasn't, it didn't end up, I was there for a year or
stepping
two.
stone,
Yeah, it was
though.
a stepping stone, but it was the best stepping stone ever because I ended up working. So I, of course, I met John Bryan when I was here. And, a couple years of NRG, it was like I actually remember one day thinking, I'm so stressed. I must have gray hair. Like I must have gray. And I was still, young, didn't have gray hair yet. And I remember going to the bathroom and like looking
found
and
it?
I had, and I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
I knew it. It just, it's so
funny.
hard to manage to be completely in charge of a studio. And especially, at any point, but even at that time, that's right when budgets were really starting to
yeah.
get slashed and everybody was starting to go home and was like, but when I got out of that, I quit one day. I was like, this isn't working for my nervous system.
Yeah, so this is important. So this is because I've known you all this time, but what was that next step?
I did not have one. But I never did. I moved out here
Yeah, I didn't
without
have
a
a
next
safety
step.
net either.
Yeah, I never did. But I just knew that and that's how it's always happened, that if I just let go, that something always shows up. So I gave up NRG and
That's construction outside, by the way.
and within a couple weeks, my friend Howard Willing, who works at Capitol.
Oh, I love
Yeah, I think
Howard,
he was the
yeah.
A&R at Capitol. I haven't talked to him in so long. I can't even remember. But he called
He
and
was
he said...
engineering by then, I think, working with Don was and working with other people.
Yeah. So he called and said, John Bryan needs help desperately. He's over at Grandmaster. He's working on Kanye's late registration. And the
God,
budget.
that John worked on that.
Like the budget's gotten out of control. Everything's out of control. Can you go over there today? And I was like, oh, okay. I love John Bryan.
Yep.
I was an original the Friday after.
He's working this week.
Yeah,
Fun
I
coincidence.
know. The Friday after 9/11, I saw him at Largo when no one knew if you should leave the house or not.
Oh, yeah.
And we sang Beatles songs for 3 hours. And that's long before I knew him.
Yeah.
So I was Magnolia soundtrack
So
that Amy
good.
Mann did
That movie
was
with Tom Cruise. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
such a good soundtrack.
that soundtrack was
I
a
heard
life
Huckabee's
changer.
amazing. John is such an incredible
Eternal
talent.
Sunshine?
I did Eternal Sunshine.
What?
Just an incredible talent.
Yeah, so I go over to Grandmaster, have no idea what I'm getting into, and then you figure you're with John and Kanye, who are two of the wildest, brains.
Yeah.
And John says the first thing he says, well, Kanye wants to do a string session at Abbey Road in 2 days. Can you figure that out?
Yeah.
I was like,
Are you a contractor
yeah,
now?
and I became one that day.
Yeah.
And he says, and can you get it approved with the label and all this? And okay. And so I'm calling,
I think that's a skill you always had naturally just to make stuff happen. I'm definitely that way. Just make it happen.
yeah. Well, that's what
There was no don't make it happen.
and that it.
Hopefully I taught some.
You did. No, you did. You taught me a lot, but that is one of them. You don't say no.
Yeah,
you
figure it out.
say, yeah, great, got it. And John took it to the next level. Like he would call
He
me.
still does.
He would call me. I worked with him for 7 years. The first day when I left the studio that night, he said, "Can you come work for me here? I'll pay you this a year." And I was like, "Okay." That's just how because he needed so much help
Yeah.
because he's a creator. He's
Yeah,
not,
he needs to not be worried about that stuff.
he doesn't need to be budgeting and proving and also John has a hard time believing, and I would tell him this, I love him dearly, but budgets and deadlines are not something that he believes firmly in. And so he needs the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
To like no, and so
And also to be the go-between.
yeah, and the go-between is
Yeah.
a better word for it.
Yeah.
But he's
He's an artist. Let him create.
He's definitely an artist. But my favorite John story of like just figure it out is he called me one night.
I like the 2 days to string date at Abbey Road.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Come on.
And that was hard. But he calls me one night. I was in Memphis visiting my family, but I was always on.
I was going to say there was no life.
There was no vacation. There's no my parents would say, everybody don't be on your phone when we go on vacation.
Yeah,
I'd
whatever.
be like, no, that's not an option for
That's
me.
not an option.
But anyway, he calls me. It's 2 or 3 in the morning, Memphis time. And he says, hey, I want to get Mick Fleetwood into the studio tomorrow morning. He was doing Dido's album. And he says, and I want him to play drums on Dido's album tomorrow. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, do you have his information? He goes, oh, no, I don't know him. I've never met him. And I'm like, oh.
So now you gotta.
So I was like,
Did we have the internet yet?
We did.
Barely.
We did. And so barely. And so I stayed awake because I found that Mick Fleetwood from my Google searches, he was managed by Sanctuary.
Yep.
But they were in London. So I had to wait a couple hours until everything was open in
God
London.
bless, it was London.
Mm-hmm. So I call London and I just, hey, I work for Dido, just get to the point to get to the right person. Next thing you know, I'm talking to Mick Fleetwood on his boat in Maui.
Oh, yeah.
The phone. Yeah. And Mick was so honored. He couldn't do it that day, obviously, because he was on his boat in Hawaii. But he flew back. And next thing you know, he was playing, drums on the Dido record.
Yeah, when you listen to stuff like this, you think that this is a one-off. And this is not a one-off.
This is every day.
Okay? This is every day. Yeah, this is every day of, I don't know, I don't know if you had left. No, you were here. You were here. Were you here when we did the Elton John stuff with Pat Leonard? Mm-hmm. So it was like, you have to find 100 hot pink lava lamps. And I remembered I called you guys and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get these myself. I'm going to go to several stores and I'm going to pick these up. Mm-hmm. And I came and we picked them all up. And then Pat was getting flowers delivered regularly for Elton. And this one morning, there was this thing, and it was like a float. It was like as big as the couch that you're on. And it was like a grassy field with a Rottweiler with a cape with sunglasses, and it's all made out of flowers. So it's like a little float. And it was probably like 10 feet long and 8 feet high. It was crazy. And it was in Studio One, and it was early in the morning, and I'm like getting here early, and I'm freaking out about the lava lamps because I couldn't find 100, and I only had like 60. And what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I've let them down.
Yeah.
And I get there with the lava lamps, and I walk in, and I see this thing, and I'm talking to myself. I'm in Studio One by myself, and I literally say what the fuck is this? And I'm like, it's cool, but what the hell? What is this thing? And I hear from behind me going, I think Pat's gone overboard. And it's Elton. And he's like, Candace, what is this? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was just, and he goes, no. He goes, what is this? And I go, well, it's obviously, it's an honor. Do you have a Rottweiler? Like, I don't understand. And he's like, well, I like the sunglasses and the cape. And I'm like, oh, it's gorgeous. I think it's amazing. It's everything it's so cool. Okay, I gotta go now. And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. And then and then he's laughing about it, and you cannot make this up.
You can't. And but it's the greatest life lessons that ever could have learned, because there's nothing now that you can nothing.
Well, and
you can give me that I think I can't figure that out.
We said then with respect, and I say now, like, everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Mick Jagger, it's Paul McCartney, it's Chris Cornell. My only crush as a professional. Mm-hmm. Remember when he would come sit in the office? Mm-hmm. I was like, we didn't really have email. We just had email, beginnings of email.
It was like
intercompany,
Earthlink, or like CompuServe.
Yeah. And I'd be like, Candace, am I bothering you? And I'd be like, no. And Jen would be at the desk, and I'd be like, oh my God, he's so hot. I can't believe he's sitting here.
We had the most random people who would come in. Who was the, what's her name from Love Story? Allie, the actress from Love Story.
Like Allie? No, I'm thinking, I'm thinking Ally McBeal, Callista Flockhart.
No. So famous.
Oh, no, Ally McGraw.
Ally McGraw.
Yeah, she wandered into the office.
From the street.
Yeah. So she had been, I think, on the film lot and was waiting for a cab.
Yes.
Yeah, she was waiting for a cab, right?
And she came and she just sat between us and like hung out for
she was beautiful.
So wonderful. And just Ally McGraw off the street, and we hung out with her for a really long time.
Yeah, she hung out for like an hour or so. It was amazing. I know you really,
or like Chris Martin would he'd suddenly be like, oh, can I?
You want to hear my heartbreak, my recent heartbreak?
Please.
So again, Chris Martin, if you ever hear this podcast, which I hope you will, I just got a call to book them for like 2 weeks. And I did what I do, moved a little small short sessions out. I bumped people. I made it all happen. And they called and they said, yeah, we don't need the time. And I like cried because I'm like, I really love Coldplay and I want them to come back.
God, I would too. That would be a heartbreaker. That's also something.
I happened with McCartney like 2 weeks ago too, and I'm like, what the heck? Am I a bad manager? No. But it isn't me.
No,
it has nothing to do with me.
no.
It has to do with schedules and flights and
and I
lives.
tell when I talk to the kids at UCLA, which I know you did too, not very long ago.
Oh, that's fun.
Some of my, which is so sweet. Like the
They were so
sweetest.
fun.
College kids are so smart.
I know.
But I tell some of my advice is always 90 at least % of your job is going to be putting things together, doing things that are never going to happen. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
And I have noticed
not being disappointed by that.
Yeah, and just knowing that's just part of your job.
Yeah.
It's why you get paid. Like, because I've seen some of the, I mean.
Do you experience that now in your career?
Yeah, all the time, and I have to remind myself because I've seen some of the younger millennial people. I mean, I guess I'm Gen X. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm a millennial, but I looked it up the other day. Yeah, but where they'll feel like they're being disrespected because their boss asked them to put something together,
and then something
and then they don't
happen.
need it anymore.
You know what? Get over it.
And
Can I just say that?
Yeah.
out
So I'm like,
loud?
for anybody who's like younger who listens to this, I'm like, and who gets annoyed when their bosses have them put something together and then they don't need it anymore. I'm like, that has been the story.
Oh yeah.
Of my life.
Oh,
It's
I mean, and
I'm
certainly-
surprised that they didn't say they didn't need the 100, lava lamps after you got them. It's all,
Yeah. It's all, yeah. Well, just to see if you wonder, like, is it just to see me jump through the hoops?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have felt that way.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's your job.
It's just, and just let it go. It's not like.
It's not personal.
It's not personal.
Even if it is,
and you're
it
not.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you're not better than that. It's like.
Well, that is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a thing. You have a great work ethic. I think I have a good work ethic, and everybody here does. I love my staff. But that is something that, like you said, if you could say something to people that are in school now, pursuing a career in any avenue of the entertainment industry, do not get disappointed. Do not become bitter. A, you're too young. and just know that all of these efforts and all of these trial runs, you'll be ready.
They're worth something. You get something
you'll be
from every
ready.
single thing, even if it's just that going back,
You'll
taking
be
it
ready
full
when
circle.
you have to go to the airport and pick up Chris Martin. It's going to be fun.
Exactly. But it goes all, back full circle, that it's like you know that people can hand you anything and you can figure it out. Yeah. And that's, such a
Well, you're a
lesson.
mom now. So that's sort of, I never became a mom, but that's got to be the mom thing.
Well, maybe the
Training for mom.
maybe John Bryant in particular trained me.
I said the other day, and I think that hopefully didn't offend anyone, Paula Salvatore, who I love and adore, my dear friend, greatest studio manager besides
Absolutely.
Roseman walking the earth. She said, it's big boy daycare, and to further that, and that's not to be insulting to men, but artists are a different temperament, and it's a different mindset and a different mentality, and you are here, all of us, from Rick Rubin on down, we're all here to serve the music and to serve the artist, and without the artist, there is no music industry and there is no music.
Yeah, and we have strong, strong
Organizational skills.
strong mom energy,
Yeah.
which is good.
I definitely have mom energy.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's called you mama like forever. Yeah. And so, I think that it's good. It's good for the male artiste to take advantage of that because it's helpful for them.
It is interesting. The managers have predominantly been women even back into the 60s. I recently did a thing for like Women's Month, I think, for Apogee, which is, by the way, I'm obviously pro everyone, but I find it divisive, the women's groups versus the men's groups. That's just weird to me. Everybody's an audio person or an artist or whatever. And they said, what was your advice? And I said, serve the music, Don't be, like you said, you're not above anything. Nothing's too trivial. If it's important, it's important.
Yeah. Amen.
So you gone to Grandmaster and you're working with John. What happened after that? What career moves did you make after that?
So after John, I didn't know.
Just before John and after
Yeah,
John.
that is pretty much my life. After John, so I will preface with, I couldn't admire I probably admire him the most.
Oh, I
like
do
of
too.
any
I saw him yesterday in the
musician.
kitchen. And I was excited. For
Yeah.
30 years of being excited over seeing someone.
I'm still a fangirl.
Too, same.
But at the end of that 7 years, I was like an overcooked piece of bacon. And
Crispy.
I
We
was
call that
crispy.
crispy.
I was like, you could break me if you flicked me. And I mean, it was just, John, he's up all night. He sleeps all day.
I felt like that when Cello closed, by the way. I was like snapped.
Yeah.
I was all right.
Yes. Same feeling.
Yeah.
He doesn't do email. He doesn't do computers. He just recently.
I want to be John. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He doesn't do, I think just recently, I think got an iPhone. I had to order him old, Nokia flip phones from eBay because they
Love
didn't
it.
even make them anymore
Love it.
for him to, it was, it just, I was crispy. So, but I didn't know how to leave John because another great lesson that I learned is everyone's always okay. I used to always think when I would leave somewhere, like,
That they would crumble.
they're just, how are they going to do it? Like I just this responsibility and everybody's always fine. Everybody's always fine. But I would just
That is a little deflating. we wanted them to crumble and crawl
I'm
across
like,
the ground.
But John is here this week and he's doing fine.
You know what though? He doesn't have a you, and I have to be honest. Like since you quit working with him, I have no idea who to talk to. Like I called Greg Kohler, his wonderful engineer, and Greg told me the other day that he didn't know they were booked Monday until he got my email.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who the you is now.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
it
think
sounds
there-
like there
A,
might
there
not
is
be one.
no one like
it sounds
you.
like there might not be one.
Yeah, there is no one
But-
like you, but I don't know who it is.
Yeah. Well, all of this to say I didn't know how to well, I didn't know how to quit, so I said, "John, I'm moving to Nashville." Because I thought if I just moved, that's an easy way
Doesn't really
to
matter to
that's,
John.
And he goes, "Yeah? Like, oh, you're moving? Okay." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm moving to Nashville." He's like, "Okay, cool. Like, let me know when you're back in town, But it was like, "Here's our next project," And I was like, "Okay, that didn't work." But I did go and I kept my apartment here, got a house in Nashville, ended up, it got old. I was coming back and forth all the time. I mean, if I needed a simple answer from John, I had to fly here.
And you were married.
Yes, I was married
Again.
at the time. And
Great ring, by the way. That is a gorgeous ring, girl. She got an emerald ring on. It's stunning.
Thank you. So I was friends with Kelly Clarkson because when I was at NRG managing, she did her first, Since You've Been Gone, that breakaway
Such a
record.
nice person.
Yeah, wonderful. Because of You, Hazel Eyes, that whole record was done when I was at NRG, and
that's
we had
cool.
and we had become friends. And
Is that how you met Abe?
it is. And so we both were dating friends of each other too at the time, whatever. And so Kelly and myself. So we so I'd always, stayed tight with Kelly. And then I was dating her guitar player, at the time, or maybe we were married at this point. But we were in Ireland on a vacation.
Because
Kelly was very generous. And she just, came and said, and I was kind of down on just like on.
Don't know what I'm gonna do.
He's just like, yeah, what am I going to do? And she just said, come work for me. Do what you do for John, for me as an
Nice.
artist.
Nice.
And I was like, okay. And so she was like, starting now. And so I called John and was like, okay, like that was
The hardest.
the hardest.
Oh.
Also the best job. I mean,
But that was a hard phone call.
it was a hard phone call.
Yeah.
It was a hard phone call, but it was a breakup. I think I stopped dreaming about John, like deeply in my subconscious, like
About
maybe
the details that you had to handle.
maybe weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But yeah, then I worked for Kelly.
It's like Stockholm syndrome. That's what people say about me being in this building. It's like I was a hostage and I fell in love with my captor.
Yeah, I always have dreams that like I'm seeing John and we're just hugging and
Aw.
it's always very pure, but yeah, it was just it was a time. But yeah, I left John. He
And
was
Kelly?
fine. Went with Kelly, had a great 5 years, traveled the world,
Oh, how cool.
yeah, like just oversaw, and got to work with an artist, which was so fun. I like front row to the hair and makeup part of it. I'd always
Oh,
worked in
right.
production,
Right.
to the more glamorous.
Show,
It's just
the
a
show.
different, the show and like in the live
production
show.
of the live shows. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, just being there for all of that it just really rounded out, I feel like, a lot of my experience and she's so, fun and all the good stuff. So
And
then,
human.
Yeah. It was just a great experience. I learned so much. And then I got pregnant with my son who's over there. And
He's so good.
there he is. He's the best.
So good.
He's
super cute.
the best.
Oh my God, the cutest. Mini me.
The greatest thing that ever happened.
See, there you go.
So he's like, so yeah, I got pregnant with him. Had been, and I couldn't. I was on the road on riding in a bus, when I was 5-6 months pregnant and huge. And there was at one point I was in, like, our bus stopped in New York in city for a show, and I was like, guys, like, I gotta go home. Like, I could catch.
I can't be pregnant.
I was
on
like,
the
what
bus.
am I doing? So when I went home, had Everson, and I was just like, I just don't want to keep. I don't want to travel anymore. Like, I wanted to make roots, and I was like, yeah, I just wanted to be a mom. So Shane McAnally, he was nominated for Songwriter of the Year this year at the Grammys, which I'm just very proud of. He's had written or produced over 50 #1 hits in country music. But he was a good friend of mine. We actually met out here when he lived out here as well. Oh. But he had moved back to Nashville too. And when I met him out here, he was, filing bankruptcy, had lost his house, lost his car. And so it was such a great...
What a great story.
Just a great story to watch him. I mean, I was there for his first #1, demoed the song, and I actually introduced him to Casey Musgraves.
How perfect is that?
Yeah, and so I met Casey right when she moved to Nashville, at a East Nashville Tomato Festival. As one does. And we became fast friends, and she was only 21 at this point. I was, 8 or 9 years older than she is. And I just loved her, and I knew, and this is before Shane had any success. I mean, maybe it had a cut or two, but and so they met. I was like, come, you're both from Texas, you need to work together. So they came, sat on my couch, and we wrote a couple.
You have a gift like that. I want to try to make something happen this week with John, because he's working with Billy Strings, and I want to try to get Billy Strings to do a duet with Dolly Parton, like a bluegrass duet, or maybe where she plays like mandolin. I'm gonna try to make it happen.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Can you see that happening?
I can, and we're very similar in this way, because it's what I'm the most proud of in my career is the people,
the collaborations and the intros.
Yeah. It's the best part. And it's fed me as much as singing or performing ever could have.
Yeah, being a connector is
it's kind of
instinct.
Yeah, and it's kind of a superpower, and it just makes me feel really good.
I think so.
Yeah, I do too. So I probably got it some from you. But yeah, I connected them. Shane ended up producing and co-writing her whole first massive
cool.
merry-go-round and Follow Your Arrow and all that. So anyway, it was
good.
A nice little side note, but then he said, come work for me. And so, because he had started his own publishing company in Nashville.
Okay.
And it's still the most successful independent
What's
one.
the name of it?
Smack Songs.
Nice.
Like Shane McAnally,
how cute.
Smack Songs. So I went over there and learned all about...
That's something I never learned about publishing.
Well, I
I've
learned
been
about...
in my world.
Learned about publishing, learned about... they also have an artist management arm. So
where the money is, by the way, publishing.
So I, helped develop and break a country music singer named Kylie Morgan, who's great. You should look her up.
Familiar.
But ultimately, I just really wanted to get back to LA.
Isn't it interesting? It has a pull.
It does. And I thought that you can't have a kid in LA. I just thought you just don't do that. In my brain, like, it's too hard or whatever the narrative is.
Plenty of people have kids here.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Yeah. But when I, living in Nashville, I was just like, wait a second. I was like, I'm bored. Like, and there's not that much to do.
I'm a little worried about retiring in South Carolina in that sense. I'm not too worried because I'm much older and want to relax and I'm ready and tired almost.
Yeah.
Got a couple years.
Yeah. I wasn't putting, don't put a fork in me yet kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so bored. And so Shane had an opportunity to judge. I don't know if that's the word. He was on the show called Songland on NBC.
Oh yeah.
Which it was kind of like kind of the voice for songwriters.
Gotcha.
In a soundbite. And it was he and Ryan Tedder and Esther Dean. And so
I love him. I love Ryan Tedder. By the way.
yeah, he's a trip.
Yeah.
So so Shane needed to come out here, and we did a couple. And so he said, well, come with me. Because I was like, I want to go back to LA. So Everson, we came back and worked up at, Universal for, a couple seasons doing the show. Then the pandemic happens.
Oh, yeah.
So suddenly we were supposed to start season 3, but it's not happening anymore. And, really the only way I was going to be able to keep my job was to go back to Nashville. And I was just like, I'm not doing it again. It was so fun having a kid here. There's so much to do.
So many places to
So
take
many
'em.
places to go. The hiking, the everything, the weather always being great, being able to get out with my son all the time.
Yep.
It was great. I was like, you know what? I will pay the money, the sunshine tax, because
Sunshine tax. I love that.
yeah, all day long, because I am just so much more fulfilled, and I just like feeling like I'm in the mix. I like the feeling.
Yeah. The thing about the show, about this podcast is it's about showing people that there's no one way and there's no quote unquote landing. You're going to land a bunch of times. You know what I mean? You're going to go doink, 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 doink. Wait, basically like a rock on a pond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll get to the other side. I don't know. But I don't know what that analogy is. But so you came out here and you're doing that and you're winging it kind of.
Yeah.
And then
So I was working on, it was so fun working on Songland, because I'm helping. I was doing everything. I was helping. Well, I don't say that I wasn't doing everything, but I was going back to my production roots a lot, because
organization.
It was like, we got to get this song done in a day. We got to, da, da, da. So, and I loved working with TV. I was like, this is fun, because that's one thing I hadn't done.
Oh, okay.
So then pandemic happens. I'm not going to go back to Nashville. I need to find a gig out here. I'm so stressed. I'm like, I am never going to find something this wonderful, which is what I felt every time.
I remember
coming
meeting
to
you for a drink during that time.
Yes. I was like, what am I going to do? And I was thinking, maybe I'll be a music supervisor.
Yep.
I'd be a great music
You'd be
supervisor. Let me tell you though, now
Super
that
hard.
I'll it's like the hardest job ever.
Dude,
People
Randy Poster
think
and George Rakulia, shout out to both of you. Hard job.
Total. I thought
All of you music
I had
supers.
the vision that a lot of people do, that it's all just like good music
Picking out
taste,
songs, having
and
fun.
it's so it is hard work. And I tell you this because now I work at Netflix.
Yeah.
And so so I'm looking, I'm like I get in touch with you. I get in touch with just a couple, people. And I'm like, maybe I can set you up with George. Because I was thinking music supervision is, I think, what I want to do. And, I'd worked in every other aspect for the most part, artist management, all the other things. And so I go to my friend Jamal, who I've known since I was 12. And he was a VP of production at Netflix. I go up to his house and I said, listen, I've been Googling. I think I want to be a music supervisor. And I've read the books. I could do this. And I said, and Alex Patsavis, who's
Yes, I love her.
Yes.
She did Grey's Anatomy.
She did. She was
Amazing.
kind of that. She
broke the fray.
She broke the fray. Brandy Carlisle,
I remember calling her early on, trying to get her to come over here.
Yeah,
I think she did eventually. I don't know.
yeah, she did. Gossip Girl. All the OC, all that kind of early aught stuff that really brought music back with television, where it became,
Well, yeah, you had bands doing songs.
Yeah.
Original songs.
Yeah.
In production, which is rare.
Yeah, and so Alex had moved over to Netflix, and she was the head of the series music department.
I didn't even know that.
Well, she has.
Now I know where she is.
That's where she's at 5808. She's 2 blocks away from here.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. You had to bring her over.
Well, I will. So anyway, so I go to Jamal and I was like, look, do you know Alex Patsavis? If you can just introduce me to Alex Patsavis, she will know.
I was obsessed with her too.
I was like, she will know what I need to do, what my next step is. I was like, I just need to talk to Alex
love this so
Patsavis.
much.
Do you know him? Do you know her? Can you do something? He's like, I will set you guys up. He's like, I don't really know her, but I should know her. He's like,
oh, we love him.
so he's like, so long story.
I need to meet Jamal.
You need to meet Jamal. He's moved over to Warner. I can't remember, somewhere else now. But anyway, so I have a Zoom pandemic with Alex, and
She sees her young self in you.
I don't know about that, but she's very cool. But 10 interviews later,
Oh my God.
Netflix is no joke. I now work for the series music division, music creative and production at Netflix.
So
So I had no idea this existed.
I was just about to ask, in that
know
position, what do you do day to day? Basically what we've always done?
Well, we've always done.
Just coordination?
It's an executive position where you're hiring Thank you. You're hiring composers, you're hiring music supervisors, you're, figuring out the budgets of what everyone can be paid,
Booking studio time?
You're booking studio time. You are. I did a field trip with our team and we came down here. You weren't there that day.
That day. It was terrible.
And everybody was tripping out. They were like, "Who are you?" Like they were like, thought I was so cool that I used to work here. It made me feel so good. They were like, "This is amazing." But yeah, it's all of the, if there's a live score, we do a lot of recording in Budapest and Vienna and Eastern Europe just for.
I don't resent it.
Yeah. Well, it's just on series.
The unions here have made it difficult. So, and budgets, aren't what they used to be. Film does a lot more here, but I do a lot there. So I got to go to Budapest last year. How fun.
Mm-hmm.
Was it cold?
It wasn't. It was perfect. It was
nice.
beautiful. My first show that I led on was called Blue Eyed Samurai. It was this really cool adult animation that did really well. So,
cool.
My day to day
is Shogun's Effects.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay.
Wrong show.
I'm offended. Actually, people ask me a lot about Netflix shows that I don't even know. There's so many.
Yeah.
Now we oversee all the series, but occasionally there's a licensed series that we don't necessarily touch. But people are always like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I'm like, there is no way I can watch.
No offense to Netflix, but my favorite show right now, and you need to somehow segue while keeping your job at Netflix, get involved with this Gary Oldman series called Slow Horses.
Oh, I've heard about it.
It's on Apple. OMG.
I've heard about it.
Okay, Netflix, steal Gary Oldman, do another series.
It's
so incredible.
Well, and let me just, this is not one of my shows because it's a film show, but, not because it's a film, but because it's licensed. But The Gentleman on Netflix, it's a Guy Ritchie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, from the movie?
It's just,
because it's the movie.
It's a,
This is the movie?
I don't know. It's called The Gentleman. I've watched 2 episodes and I am blown away. And it's a Guy Ritchie film or
with Guy Ritchie.
series. I always want to say film because it's Guy Ritchie.
I just watched Rue de Guerre, which is also Guy Ritchie, which is so great.
Well,
Guy Ritchie, you're badass.
I am like, my mind has been blown and I cannot wait to finish it. Griselda was another one that was,
The Gentleman?
with Sofia Vergara.
Yeah,
The Gentleman.
Okay,
oh my gosh.
Is it out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what I do love about Netflix, although this can be controversial.
Every night's movie night at my house, by the way. Every night's movie night or like show night. I go home. Yeah. My husband is my sanctuary. Brian, God bless you.
I love him.
I get to go home and it's like, what are we going to eat? Mm-hmm. Have a glass of wine. And what are we going to watch?
Oh, you're going to love The Gentleman. I'm so excited. And did you watch Beef?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. We
Wait,
cannot.
Beef, like BEE?
Yes, it won like 1 million Emmys.
I'm such a dumbass. Okay,
oh my gosh, Beef is my favorite show of the last couple years.
What's it about?
It's about
bodybuilding.
There's no way to do it justice, but the short log line, if you will, is that I'm having a cramp in my leg.
Stretching.
That's okay. Just glad I got my new loose 90s jeans. Yeah. So it's basically this man, this woman. They have like a kind of a fender bender in a parking lot.
And so beef like a fight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm so confused.
It's a series.
I'm thinking it's like weightlifting. Nope. Hey, Caleb. And I'm thinking like weightlifting.
No.
Bodybuilding.
Not at all. And so they have beef, and they're both very angry, which you find out just for their own reasons.
Incredible songwriter, Caleb.
I thought you were going to say like he's very angry.
No, he's amazing. All from South Carolina, random.
Oh,
working with all these artists.
How cool
Frank
is that?
Ocean, all these people. You need to meet him. He's super cool.
Got it.
Get him on your shows.
Copy.
Make that happen. So this is how it happens, people.
Well, and
this is how it happens.
It is. This is like
or the Tomato Festival.
Yeah, or the East Nashville Tomato Festival. Yeah, I tell my piece of advice for the children is like just show up.
Yeah,
like, just show up. It's like if somebody is doing anything, if you're invited, whether it's I was talking to songwriters recently, and I'm like, if you think they stink, if you're nervous, you think you don't have ideas, just show up.
Yeah,
like that is the game. Is just meeting the people, being in the room. It's like
supporting,
you might send me his information later, and then we'll have a meeting with him at Netflix, and which we do all the time. And then there might be some show that's perfect, and bam, it's like
hot right now.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Well, no, we have done what I was hoping we'd do, and I could talk to you, and we'll continue to talk to you for years to come.
Oh yeah.
And I love you so much.
I
and
love
I'm
you
so
too.
Honored
Thank you.
That I'm so honored that you. Well, I'm proud of you. Like, what did I have to do with it? Not a lot,
Oh
but
no,
I'm so
you
proud
did.
of you.
You did. You kickstarted my whole career.
Oh, I don't know about
No,
that.
you did. I mean, I'm not selling smoke,
you.
but it's
Thank
like,
you. Thanks.
it's just a testament to how
Aw, thanks.
important like relationships
Yeah.
are and
It
giving
is.
people opportunities
And the who you know thing, people look at that as a bad thing, like it's who you know.
No.
But that's not a bad thing.
no.
You know, it's a good thing.
It's a relationship business,
Yeah.
and relationships
And life.
are great. A life business, exactly.
Dude, you take
yeah.
your car in to get it fixed. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's being nice to the person.
Well, and here's and maybe
the dentist.
and maybe to like
Full circle
to
it.
full circle it out. Is I loved this is a couple months ago you forwarded me an email from a teacher at UCLA.
I did, yeah.
Right, and you were like, hey, this person reached out to me asking if I had your information because they would love for you to speak at their class. That's nice. I reach out to the guy. He says he talked to me. He knew who I was because he called Cello 22 years ago
Oh, my
looking for, an assistant
gig.
position.
Yeah.
And he said I was so kind to him and he
Aw.
called a couple times. And so
That's because we're Southern and we're sweet.
and my accent was much more prevalent then. And he wrote down, my full name and, because he was keeping in touch with me. And he went back through his notes a couple months
I
ago.
love this.
And he sees this and he Googles my name and is like, oh, what? Like, just the songwriting and the, because we kind of skipped that, but I, ended up co-writing a couple Kelly songs and Casey songs and
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And
That's
so-
just a little
Well, it was
blip
just- I know,
on the radar.
I know, but
there.
I always have kept my foot in both because
Yeah,
but
you guys are going to be on my show. It's happening. Everyone's going to be on my show. Go ahead.
but
In my head.
yeah, but it was so cute because he was just like, this is all my students, like they all want to be.
You.
Well, it's nice, but no, it's just like they want to be able to somehow do both and
Yeah.
keep and that's something that I'm proud of because I feel like I learned early on that it's just not my nature to be to try to be a star. Like it's I mean
This all happened from the disappointment
it
at
all
age 12.
it all started at 12. I don't have it in me. I am not strong enough for this
For
career.
the second round of failure.
But I will never do it again. But I found my niche and
What doesn't kill you makes
my
you
niche,
stronger.
yeah.
Whoever said that? It's the worst.
what doesn't
No,
kill
we
you.
didn't need to go through that.
Yeah. But I found my niche, which was, being around the process, being a part of the process, production. And then I still got to, through all of that, I still got to write songs and
Dude, I'm a champion of every person and that's the other thing I want to do here is shine a light. Yeah, when you say it takes a village, I mean, I don't make movies, but it still takes a village to
Oh.
make an album or to do a TV show or even a commercial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so, location scouts, you got electricians, you got grips, you got makeup artists, you got hair people, you got people writing songs, you got people hiring string contractors, you got, the drivers. I mean, you got
Yeah.
all this stuff, which is why the strikes were kind of devastating.
Yeah.
Because when actor strike, writer strikes, all this happens, the fallout to all the other people is so devastating. So happy that's over. Happy agreements have been made. Happy that Ashley's at Netflix. Only going to watch Netflix from now on. Not going to watch any other,
Thank you. Good,
streaming
good,
service.
Good, because Netflix really needs your support.
Yes, they're struggling.
They're struggling. It's been a bad quarter.
But I'm super
just
excited.
kidding.
Beef.
Beef, so good.
And The Gentleman.
Gentleman. Those are the two things. And again, I'm only 2 episodes into The Gentleman, but it's banging.
But everything you do along the way, again, purpose of show, is to shine a light on there is no bad learning experience. Everything you learned about coordinating for John, getting Mick Fleetwood on the phone, meeting Alex Patsavas, all these
Yeah,
things,
Kelly.
writing songs, going to Ireland, being pregnant on the bus. I mean, all of it leads you to, I could do this.
Yeah. And that's
I can do
why,
this.
yeah. And I used to be so scared when I went to NRG, I was just so scared I wasn't gonna have a job.
Oh, I knew you'd be fine.
Yeah. But it's like
That
now,
reality show, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh. But the great thing, and maybe it's just being 43, I don't know, is just, and going through all these different.
She looks like she's 26.
Oh, you're fair. Stop.
Dude, I turned 65 in like 10 days.
That's so odd. So you were about my age when I met you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 40.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 40.
There you go.
I was 41, I think, when I met you.
Wild.
Whoopty.
Wild.
I was thinner.
I don't know. I
My
feel
hair.
like you've
Same.
Yeah.
Skin, it's important to have a good skin routine.
It is. Yeah.
And go back to the humid place that you grew up in every now and then.
That's true.
Get that humidity back.
That's true. Although I went home last weekend for 3 days.
Oh.
And my face broke out.
Was it freezing?
No, it actually was nice.
nice? Oh.
Surprisingly, because it's usually raining or miserably cold when I go back.
Man,
But that humidity, I was like, no, it breaks out my face
I am
immediately.
so impressed by your journey and so proud and
Thank you.
just so excited
Thank you.
for what is to come. I mean,
Thank you.
dude, you're young and you may feel like you've been through the ringer, because I'm sure you do. I know I do. But I can just imagine. I mean, I totally can see you producing a show. I'm putting that out there.
I love it.
You producing a show, calling the shots. Can I help with the casting? I want Jake Gyllenhaal to be in all movies.
Let me just
all TV shows.
Let me be clear. I do not want to be a music supervisor anymore. I have seen. I mean, because you think about it. If there's a marching band in a episode of a show, that music supervisor has to find the marching band music and figure it out. Like, it gets so deep. It's like if there's
and then if they're underage,
yeah.
What's that all about? You got to get releases on that. No, I just meant.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I went to like a dark place.
No.
I was
I meant like you have to get releases if they're.
Well, yes,
young,
you definitely. Yeah, that's a whole nother division. But yes.
But producer rings for you.
I love that.
Because
it does me too.
And all the things that you've learned, we're very benevolent dictators, and we are benevolent. What is the word? Delegators. So you know what? All those words, haters. We're not haters, but yeah, all of that. I mean, now you know, it's not like for me, I always say like, hey, I was a runner. I was an assistant for a minute. Like, I feel your pain. I know the drill. I get the journey. So yeah, I think it's, Ashley, executive producer. That's
I love
what I'm calling
this.
for.
Thank you. I saw this video of Dolly the other day, an old interview, and she was saying like her dream is for Beyonce to cover Jolene, and Beyonce just covered Jolene on her new album that came out today, and I was like, so let's manifest like Dolly. I like
Dude,
this.
I love her so. Well, I'm going to make that thing happen with Billy Strings and Dolly.
You should.
You
should.
We're full circle.
Yes.
Yeah, full circle. I can't even talk anymore. I got you 2 words. I love you.
I love you.
I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see what happens. I have no
you.
doubt that this is just one of the many peaks.
Thank you.
I wish for you very mild valleys.
Thank you.
And for the rest of your life. Good health.
Thank you.
Incredible son.
Thank
and
you.
just, and by the way, gorgeous. You're just gorgeous.
Oh,
you are so
kind.
gorgeous.
Well,
So, yeah.
if there's a tall man out there,
This probably, one's going to be coming in. There's actually one going to come in to do the next show who I love, my friend Teddy, who is just too hotness. Anyway, we'll probably edit that out on that last section. But
That's funny.
no, you'll meet him. I was kind of hoping you guys cross paths.
No, you're sweet.
There's a method to my madness at all times.
Thank you. I love it that you're doing this podcast
Do you think
because
I'm
your
I don't really
stories.
calculate it's a negative word, but
Predetermined,
anyway,
no.
thank you so much for being on it.
Thank
and we'll
you.
have to have a redo.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll do another, not a redo. Sorry, another episode. Thank you Ashley, for being on this episode of Trade Secrets, my podcast. I'm Candace Stewart, your host. We're here at East West Studios. I can't even talk anymore. And thank you so much again.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.